It says I'm live. That's convenient, saves a funeral. Can you hear me, folks? Have to wait for it to propagate through the ether, I suppose. Hello, am I live? I'm looking at the chat. Hello, hello. Live? Jimmy, can you hear me? Is there audio and stuff? Yeah? Just wait for the response from the chat so I know what's going on. Yes, it says yes, right. Okay. Thank you all for dropping in. I don't know how many people are watching. Must be at least 3 or 4. Yeah, right. Some things to talk about today. First of all, I'm a bit concerned about the hobby. Really am concerned about the hobby. It's getting pretty tough for the hobby. I was looking today and thinking Christmas is coming. We've got kids that ideally should be getting radio-controlled model aircraft or drones for their Christmas presents. And I then looked at the regulations, and if you're under 13, you're just out of luck. This is not a hobby for children anymore. I started this hobby when I was probably 6, maybe 6. I know I just started school, and I got given a kit set for a little glider, and that really got me interested. And I had my first radio control model before I was 12. I know that. So what happens to a kid today? You give them a little 250-gram radio control model. What do? Well, if they're a 12-year-old, nothing. They can't legally fly it because in the USA, got to be 13 years old to register. And even if you're 14 or 15, you've got to have a credit card because it's $5. Can't just push money into you. We don't even have a disk drive on the computer to push money into anymore. So you've got to have a credit card. You've got to have some way of paying. So unless there's an adult in the loop, you're out of luck. And I don't think there should be these barriers to the hobby for young people. In the UK, you've got to register, you've got to sit exams and things and register. If you don't have a parent with you, so you can't do much if you're under 13. If you're under 13, you've got to have a parent's assistance. And then if you want to actually be the owner or the operator of your own craft, you've got to be 18. Seriously, what's going on? This is a hobby that children should be enjoying, and regulators are putting all these barriers in place. And that's stopping the inflow of new people into the hobby. I've been looking around at examples of photos from model flying sites and things, certainly in New Zealand. It's all old people like me. They're all grey hair. The whole hobby's greying out so badly because young people aren't, being welcomed into the hobby. And excuse me. And parents probably a bit scared to give their kids model airplanes because they could, with remote ID, what could happen there. And so if you're a 13-year-old kid and you get a model for Christmas, it's not as simple as that. You've got to go and register, and then you've also got to fit remote ID. Because chances are if you get a kit that doesn't have remote ID, you're going to go and spend another $80 to put remote ID on it. It's another barrier to entry. I don't know. And what's the end goal of all this? It's certainly not safety. It's certainly not security, because we know that, 250-gram foam models of a Piper Cub are not the sort of thing a bad actor is going to use to terrorize an airport or to steal state secrets. It's just crazy. And that betrays the real goals here. If this was simply a case, all these regulations and registration and remote ID, if it was just a case of making the country secure and safe, then they wouldn't be applying that to model aircraft. They'd be applying it to drones, perhaps, because, someone can use a DJI Phantom or Mavic or whatever and do bad things very easily, but not to small foam scale models. But that's what they're doing, because we know that it's nothing to do with safety and security. It is all about getting us out of the sky. And the reason for that is because if you look at the FAA website, what did I find here? I made some notes. According to the FAA, for BV loss to happen, thank you, Blizzard, much appreciated. For BV loss to be allowed, then the people operating BV loss have to have a detect and avoid system, which is compliant with some of the standards they've published. Now, that's a real hard thing to do. So, because they have to detect anything else that's out there in the airspace. And mostly what's going to be from 0 to 400 feet, well, about the only thing you're going to encounter is another drone or a model aircraft. So what they're saying is, well, we don't think detect and avoid is going to be viable. So best we just clear all that other stuff out of the airspace, then we can fly BVLOS safely. So until we're out of the skies, the drone delivery companies can't comply with the FAA's requirement to be safe in that airspace. And so we've got to go. Thank you, test pilot. Tim, how you going, mate? Thank you very much. So yeah, it is really concerning, really, really concerning. And this speaks to the whole thing I've noticed since the human malware came out. I mean, notice governments around the world, when the human malware came out, we all got locked down. New Zealand was one of the worst places. We got locked right down for a very long period of time. And people did it. They complied because they were scared, because the government told us it was for your safety. It's for your safety. You must be locked down so you don't catch this dreaded disease and pass it on to others. So we did it. But since then, governments have learned that if you roll out the word safety, you can do anything you want. You can take away freedoms. You can lock people up. You can virtually force them to, be injected with things on the basis that you have to be safe. We're doing this for your own benefit. And it's this whole thing that's been growing for years. They will take your freedoms and sell them back to you as a privilege. And that's what's happening with the 0 to 400 foot airspace. They've taken away thank you, Elastem Kerr, thank you, mate. They've taken away our freedoms to use this airspace now that commercial entities want to use it. And they will sell it back to us grudgingly by way of registration and other fees. And of course, once you register, it's like everything. Registration is a precursor to seizure, really. I mean, in New Zealand, we have to register our firearms. And then they decided they're going to ban all semi-automatic weapons. So round them up, destroy them. Registration usually comes before a ban. So I'm not being conspiratorial. I think this is my honestly held opinion that the hobby is under such immense pressure that it is an existential crisis for the hobby. The hobby will still continue, but not in the way we've known it, not in the way we've loved it. For a start, kids are out. We've already seen kids are out. There's no room for under 13s in this hobby anymore. So I don't know what to do. And the thing that worries me most of all, thank you, Tim. Wow. So it's a good stream. I'm making some money out of this. The thing that worries me most of all is that most people are not doing anything. Now, I put that video up where I asked for assistance, and I thank immensely all the people who have emailed the counsellors, emailed our council, and asked what the hell's going on. But that video's had over 10,000 views, and there's been, as far as I can tell, about 100 people have responded. 10,000 views, 100 people. That is, what's that? That's 1%. 1% of the people who watched that video actually did something. And that speaks, thank you, Colin. That speaks to the apathy we're facing here. Our biggest enemy as a hobby is ourselves. We're just not prepared to get up and do something to protect our hobby. We're just, someone else will do it, or, it'll be right. Don't worry about it. But people won't realize what they've lost until it's gone, and then it's too late to get it back. So I'm gravely concerned. I knew when I made that video asking for help that I was taking quite a risk, that there would be a low response. And it has been a low response. I suspect that there are people probably in the council going, he says he's got 200,000 subscribers and we've got 40 emails. Oh, what a joke. I mean, that's a risk I had to take. And that may be what's happening because there haven't been a hell of a lot. I do appreciate those that have emailed, but basically, most people have just said, it's not my problem. And that means that we've got very little support for the hobby going forward. There's a hardcore of people that I know and love, but most people, leave it to the AMA, leave it to whoever, or, that's fine, doesn't affect me. But they don't realize when it does affect them, there'll be nobody left to, help them out. And that is a real problem. So I don't know. So I don't know where we go. I suspect that if the hobby does continue, it'll be sort of like the freer concept, but we might have to have hobby parks where if you want to go and fly your model airplane or your drone, there's only a little area you can go to do it in. You've got to travel there, do it there. You can't do it anywhere else because you might knock down a delivery drone. So we can't have you out there in the real world. You're confined in these little parks. And that'd be a real shame because we've already seen that if we're not out in the public eye, the public don't see what we're doing. And that's, it's a case of we don't educate the public as to what happens because we're locked away in little grassy fields somewhere. And that further reduces the number of new people coming into the hobby, which is a real concern, and it grays the hobby out. And also now that, and again, if we look at the facts, the regulators could have said, we'll have a set of rules for drones, like camera drones, GPS guided drones with some autonomy and no skill required. And we'll have a set of rules for model aircraft and freestyle drones, which you have to know how to fly because they're two different categories of operation. But no, they are saying that fixed wing, foam, 250-gram Piper Cub is exactly the same as a Mavic 3. And they choose to do that because then they can, when they want to ram through some restriction or control, they say, we have a new drone regulation. The public go, oh, bloody drones, yeah, good, regulate those. But if they had said, we have a new regulation restricting model aircraft, the public would probably go, oh, that doesn't sound fair. Model aircraft, all right. So by calling everything a drone, they can ram through stuff because the public are totally unaware. Thank you, the Beagle Beat. Much appreciated. So they're able to ram stuff through by redefining things. Model aircraft are now drones, and we know they're not. But the public thinks that when the government talks drones, they're talking about multi-rotors, these ones that menace airports and spy on you in your back garden. They don't realize it's also affecting the hobby of model aircraft. So, and they're not willing to draw that distinction because it would reduce their power. That is a huge shame. And the media, of course, has played along with this and made it even worse. And then there's the trumped up things, all these drone incidents, which are not incidents at all. Gatwick wasn't an incident. There's been no proof of a drone there. And the authorities are busy trying to cover up all of the facts so that they can continue to say, oh, the Gatwick drone incident, which never really occurred. No drones, just a phobia or something else went on in the background we didn't know about. So, yeah, and there's not enough people rallying against this. So I don't know what we do about that. I get disappointed every time I try and do something because I know that I'll see the same old faces. The people who like me are passionate about this, willing to stand up. I'll see those same old faces, but the rest of the world largely ignores things. And the proof of this is, look at Flight Test. They have a YouTube channel. It has 2 million subscribers or something. These are the people who enjoy the hobby. And they have the Flight Test Community Association. This is the channel that is supposed to be protecting the hobby, working with rules and things. Do you know how many subscribers they've got on that? 2 million on their main channel, and on the channel that's there to try and protect the hobby, 11,000. That's the tiny percentage of those 2 million that feel strong enough to get involved. And then it's even worse because we've got the FPV Freedom Coalition. That is the premier, the world's biggest FPV user group out there trying to push back against regulation. How many subscribers do you think their YouTube channel has? Yeah, 836 when I checked a few minutes ago. People don't care. People are not interested. They don't want to do it. It's too hard. And I know when I do this sort of stuff, I get so many people, putting comments. Oh, just stop complaining, you grumpy old man. Just get on and fly. It's not your problem. But that's the problem. If it's not my problem, then it becomes everybody's problem because the hobby disappears. So I don't expect everyone to join in and walk behind me with pitchforks, but it's a little jarring when people criticize me for doing what they can't be bothered doing themselves. But that's just when you put yourself up on a high place, people will throw stones at you. I'm used to that. It doesn't worry me at least, but I'm aware that it happens. So yeah, I don't know what we do about that. It's very difficult. And I usually have a solution for most problems. I don't have any solution for this because I just can't see how we get around the apathy. It's just so entrenched. As I say, 1% of the people who watched my video, my call for action, actually did something. And if we do the sums, what is 11,000 of 2 million? It's a similarly small number. It's just 1%. I don't know. Maybe 1%. I don't know. Okay, I've got a calculator. Why don't I use? I've lost it. Lost my calculator. Never mind. It's a small number. Here it is. I'll see if I can work it out because my brain doesn't function very well. 2 divided by, no, it's 11 divided by 2. Yeah, it's 0.5%. 0.5% of the people who watch Flight Test care enough to actually get involved through the Flight Test Community Association. So I'm doing better with 1%. I'm doing a lot better than Flight Test, but it's still an abysmal number. Absolutely terrible. Yeah, and of course, we've seen this also, this other division where we've got organizations, national model flying bodies, AMA, model flying. Thank you, Jeff. Model off axis. Thank you, mate. These organizations, the national model flying bodies that previously were there to protect the hobby and to support the hobby, they're slightly different now. They're protecting members because there was a time when if you were in a hobby, you joined a club and everyone was basically a member of a club because that's what you did. You needed a club people to teach you to fly, teach you how to build stuff. And that. Now all that information is available online and you get simulators. So a lot of people are getting into the hobby and they're not joining clubs. They don't need a club. So these organizations, these national organizations are now focused on looking after their members, not after looking after the hobby as a whole. because the hobby as a whole is much bigger than them. They're just going to focus on their members. We've seen that with Model Flying New Zealand in my situation. I would have loved Model Flying New Zealand to have said, okay, Bruce, we know you're totally safe. We know what you're doing. We know CAA's looked at it and said they're not concerned, so we shouldn't be concerned. Away you go. But no, there's no latitude. There's letter of the law, and we're not going to go into bat for you. You've been a member for years. In fact, off and on, I've been a member since 1977. I've been a member of Model Flying New Zealand since 1977. Went back when it was called NZMAA, I think it was then. And but there's no appreciation for that. And I noticed a member left a comment on my video being critical that I was making money. I was making money out of my videos. How dare you? But again, it's just tall poppy syndrome is quite big around here. So I should look at the chat, because I did ask people to chime in, and it's who's this? That's a bit disingenuous. Hang on, I've got to scroll it up a bit. It was Drone Droid, bit ingenuous, Bruce. One flight test channel is much older and attracts non-hobbyists. Does it attract non-hobbyists? Who does it attract that's not interested in flying models? And it may be a lot older, but they can cross-promote channels quite easily. I mean, my RC model, my XJet channel is much older than my RC model reviews channel, but my RC model reviews channel has more members than XJet. So I don't think age is a big thing. I think it just shows that people are just not that interested in doing the hard work. It's like any club. You get a club or a group or in a society, you get 5% of the people do 95% of the work, and the rest of the membership just go along for the ride. And they'll criticize the 5% because they're not doing it well enough. It's just human nature. You can't grizzle about it. It's just what happens. It's just, you have to accept it. So, yeah. What else have we got? Let me see. Clubs are dumb, crews are cool. Yeah, that's the way things are going. I mean, if you look at our airfield, out at the airport, we don't have a club structure. The thing that's made us so successful, we've been going for so many years, is we don't have a club captain, a president, a secretary. Everybody is just equal, and we treat each other as equals. And from a safety perspective, we don't have someone walking around with a clipboard and a high-vis jacket. Everybody there has a sense of responsibility for not only their own safety, but their friends' safety. So we are a combined team that safety is always in our mind. It's not the thing we don't rant and rave about it, because we take it as just being an essential part of the whole activity. So, no one's been injured, no property damaged, no lives threatened. That's the way it works when everybody just has safety in the front of their mind, but not necessarily singing from a hymn book that says, you must do this, you must do that. Unfortunately, again, most of the regulators and national bodies, they think safety is a set of rules. Either we've got to follow these rules to the letter and you'll be safe, which is absolute rubbish. Safety is about knowledge, understanding, and the right attitude. And if you've got those things, the rules are unnecessary, because you will do naturally the things that the rules would have wanted you to do anyway. And if they don't, then the rules are wrong. You can't use rules as a crutch. I always say, never use rules as a crutch, because you can be totally compliant and unsafe. And I'll give an example of this. I used to live down by the lake. You've seen some of my videos, that lake I used to fly around. During the lockdown, I flew my drone around the lake a lot. And at that stage, I was a Model Flying New Zealand member. I had my wings. And I would fly out over the lake in the morning, get some lovely, cinematic shots and things. My wife would be spotting for me. Totally legal, 100% legal. But shortly after the lockdown, there's a helicopter was seen to be flying across the lake, really quite low, especially if there was a bit of low cloud. It would come in maybe 60, 70 feet above the lake. You can see the rotor wash tubulating the water in the lake. He shouldn't have been doing that, but I knew he'd come through between 8 and 9 o'clock in the morning. So legally, I could have flown out there in that time where he was going to fly at 60, 70 feet above the water. And I would have been fully compliant. But the problem is the helicopter comes around a corner, and by the time you're aware it's there, it's on you. There's no forewarning. So even if my spotter said, look out, here comes a helicopter, I wouldn't have time to get out of the way. So if I'd been flying out there fully compliant with all the rules, there was still the potential for a very, very bad accident to occur, because the rules don't cover everything. So I chose not to use the rules as a crutch. And I thought, I'm not going to fly between 8 and 9, because I know that, one day in 3, that helicopter is going to come through. So I didn't rely on the rules to keep me safe. And there could have been a really bad accident, even though I was 100% compliant with the rules. That's why compliance doesn't guarantee safety. That's not the way it works. There was another example. I was flying at the airfield with Neil. He was flying FPV with his Dynam Hawk Sky. had the goggles on. I was there with my radio on my belt, the AV-band radio, listening out for aircraft, and I was the spotter. I was looking out, and we were standing there, and then I caught out of the corner of my eye, I glimpsed some movement, and it was a Piper Seneca, which is a high-performance single-engine light aircraft, coming down the runway at a very high rate of speed with the wheels up. Obviously, it wasn't landing. It was doing a beat up. Came barreling down the runway. I called out to Neil, quick, Neil, get over the paddock, fly out past the runway over into the field because there's a plane coming. Now, if I'd been a little bit slower, that plane could have hit the Seneca. The Seneca could have hit the FPV model. Now, we were totally 100% compliant with rules. We were flying with wings. I was the observer. I was observing. I wasn't filming, which is why there's no footage of that, but I was observing, had a radio on my belt. Everything was totally by the rules. But for the sake of just maybe 1 second, if I'd been looking the other way instead of that way, that Seneca could have hit this model. So 100% compliance, again, does not guarantee safety. And that's when I decided we need something more than a radio. We need an ADS-B alarm. That's when I decided to build the ADS-B alarm, because I always believe in doing practical things to improve safety, not just saying, oh, I was complying with the rules, too bad. Regulators and national model flying bodies, they don't see it that way. Compliance, we just want compliance. We don't care if you're safe, just be compliant. And as I say so many times, a guy in a pinstripe suit sitting behind a note desk in a glass tower, he doesn't know beans about what we're doing. He doesn't know what produces safety and what doesn't. So the rules are usually an extremely poor fit. You're either over-regulated to the point where you can't enjoy what you're doing, or the rules do not provide safety. So as I say, safety is a personal responsibility everyone has to take on. And I get really annoyed when people use safety as an excuse for taking away your freedoms, charging you money, or whatever. We have another example. In New Zealand, if you want to fly at or within 4 kilometers of an airfield, our model, you have to have these wings or a pilot's license. Now, I don't know how many pilots, full-size pilots, we've had at the airfield. They've come in and landed and we said, hey, do you want to have a fly? Oh, yeah, sure. They can't fly models for beans because all the orientation issues just completely throw them. So yet, according to the rules, the regulations, if you've got a pilot's license, you can go to an airfield with a turbine-powered jet, 15 kilogram turbine jet, and try and fly it. And that's safe. That's totally safe. But because I haven't paid my $100, I can't fly a 100-gram foam model at the airfield because that's too dangerous. And these common sense things just are not acceptable to Model Flying New Zealand or CAA, and it makes a mockery of. They talk the talk, but they do not walk the walk when it comes to safety. And that really annoys me because I place safety as a very high priority. They don't. They say they do, but obviously they don't. If they allow a manned aviator, they assume that a manned aviator's got enough skills to fly anything in the hobby without any training, without any supervision. Well, seriously, what are they smoking in these glass towers? I don't know. I don't want any. 149 people, is it? Let me see. I have 144 now. 5 of them have dozed off and leant on the exit button. Curry Kitten, good to see you in the chat, mate. Good to have you here. What else have we got? Someone give Bruce $50. Look, people have donated, been very, very kind. I do appreciate the donations. Someone cynically said, actually, it was a Model Flying New Zealand member, I think, cynically said, oh, you're just hyping this up for drama because you're making more money out of the drama videos than you do out of the flying videos. Yeah, trust me, I'd much rather be flying. Everyone would much rather have some fun videos coming from the airfield. And as far as that goes, I don't know where we're going with the airfield, to be honest. There's been as I feared, such a small turnout, under 100 people have emailed the council. It's not enough to melt a mail server or really make them pay attention. They'll just ignore all that. As we've seen, that they've just ignored most people. Some people have got a reply, and it's just the letter that was sent to me saying, oh, we're not banning Mr. Simpson from flying at the airfield. He just has to comply with the CAA regulations. But the thing is that they have imposed an extra thing that CAA doesn't say you have to be a member of Model Flying New Zealand, but the council is saying you have to be a member of Model Flying New Zealand. So even if I'm 100% compliant with CAA regulations, I still can't fly there. So we're not banning him. We're just making it impossible for him to comply. So they're lying. It's bullshit. It's just the bullshit that they spout. So I don't know where we go from here. I don't expect there'll be 1,000 people emailing this weekend. So that avenue, and they are very resilient. They've got excellent shutters on the windows. Their drawbridge is very, very strong. And I noticed some people have said they can't even access the contact form. They get a forbidden. So they've probably put an IP block in there based on the IP or the location of the person trying to use the form, and saying we don't need to accept inquiries from outside New Zealand because we're in New Zealand. They'll just be raising more and more drawbridges. That's just what they do. One of the councillors did respond and say, "I'm in India." What the hell are you doing in India? There's a meeting of the council this Wednesday, and they're in India. So I don't know. What do we got? Okay. Clubs are dead. Independent flying is the new norm. Yes. The unfortunate thing, though, is that we don't have a single body that represents us. I tried that with the Online Safety League. I can't even remember what it was now. But I tried to get a global sort of an organization going where we could have a single unified voice. I mean, Manned Aviation has a body, was it AOPA or something, that represents their pilots and things. We don't have that. We don't have any. There's the FAI, but that's just for competition. We don't have any global representation, and we can't rely on the national model flying bodies like the AMA. They've sold out. They'll just do whatever they want to get the most revenue for themselves and the most conditions, most benefits for their members. So as a group of itinerants, we are just that. We're just a group of individuals, and divide and conquer. They don't have to. We're already totally divided. We're all individuals. There's no cohesion, and I don't see. One of the problems with people like us who tend to be, prepared to go it alone is we don't want to join a group. We already know the disadvantages of being in a club, being in a large organization, and we don't want that. So how do we get a unified voice? I don't know how we do that. It's I've given it lots of thought, and I've tried to create an entity, and I think we got 1,000 people or something, and that was it. And out of the entire population of the world who fly models, it's not much. Not much at all. And the more you do that, the more the officials look at you and go, "You're inconsequential." There are the AMA has 200,000 members, and you globally you've got 1,000. You don't count for beans. So yeah. So Johnny D got web address unavailable when he tried to use the form by the look of it. Yeah. And well, thank you, Mark. That's brilliant, mate. Excellent. So what am I going to do? Obviously. Despite what the council says, they have effectively banned me from flying at the airfield, which, and as I said in my last video, I can't just go down and fly anyway. They'll trespass me. And because the precedent's been set just up the road, they trespassed a pilot from his hangar because he got offside with the council there. And so that's it. What can you do? Ideally, if I win the lottery tonight, which is probably a little unlikely, I would do what BotGrinder's done. I would buy some land and I would set up a flying area. And because I believe that we need, if you buy yourself a fast car, a fast motorbike, you can go to a racetrack. You can wring that thing out. You can drive as fast as you want. You can do slides around the corners, and it's not against the law. It enables you to really enjoy the full capacity of the thing you're using. And it means you're not going to do it on the roads because you've already had your fun on a racetrack. But we don't have racetracks for our hobby. There's nowhere we can go and fly as high as we want. There's nowhere we can go and fly BVLOS. These things are not allowed, regardless of where you are. And I think that's wrong. I think we need areas which are set aside, and they are no-fly. Drones have no-fly areas. We need no-fly areas for manned aviation. We just set aside an area and say, right, manned aviation, there could be models and drones here operating up to 10,000 feet. Don't fly in there. And if you do, don't blame us if you hit a drone or a model aircraft, because you've been warned. It's an exclusion zone for manned aviation. Then people who buy their brand new Mavic or want to see how high it'll go, they can go out there and fly it as high as they like in complete safety because it's an exclusion zone. They can get it out of their system. They'll realize when you get up that high, everything looks the same and people look like ants. That's boring. Let's go down and look at something more interesting. And same for BVLOS. If you want to fly BVLOS, you can go out there and you can fly 5 miles away if you want to. Get that out of your system. You realize, oh, damn, I just crashed. That's an awfully long way to walk. Maybe I won't do that anymore. But these things have to be done, or people do them in the wrong places. They do them where they might encounter manned aircraft. They do them where they might cause problems for somebody else. So we need to provide areas to do that, a racetrack for our drones. The only way to do that is to buy some land or lease some land and set that up. Now, BotGrinder's got his FPV park in the USA. Fantastic. The really amazing thing is that here in New Zealand, land is like an investment. People don't put money in the bank. They don't put money into stocks and bonds. They buy land, which means we've only got so much. It's a small country. So land isn't hideously expensive. They have some new housing sections for sale here in Tokoroa. Now, for a section to put a house on, $300,000. That's not including the house. That's just the bit of land you put your house on. And so to buy a piece of land that is accessible, and big enough to do this, you're looking over $1 million. It's just not going to happen. There's no one can afford that. I can't afford that. And so, it's a pipe dream. In other countries, may be possible, but not here, unfortunately. And again, we have a problem that the hobby is in decline. It certainly is in decline. Look at if I look at the everyday I search for model aircraft videos on YouTube, and I see fewer and fewer of them. And what I do see, usually someone's ripped a piece of someone else's video and put it up as a short. And I see the views are going way down. Before, if you put a video up of someone flying model aircraft, you might get 7,000 or 8,000 views. Now the same people are putting videos up and getting 1,000 views. It's like the audience has gone away. The interest has gone away because that sort of drones are no longer new and flash and fun and like I used to watch every single freestyle and proximity FPV video I could find on YouTube, but now I don't, because it's getting a bit passé. We've seen it all, we've done it all, and I think a lot of the buzz has gone out of that. I really still enjoy flying, but I enjoy my flying. It's not so much a spectator sport anymore. So it makes it very difficult. Again, and to get anything like sponsorship from an organization. I mean, back in the day, we had places like Hobby King, and they could throw money at anything and sponsor things, and companies could make money by sponsoring, whatever. When I proposed a model park back in 2013, 10 years ago, here in Tokoroa, I did a crowdfund. It was unofficial. I just asked for pledges, didn't ask for any money, and $40,000 was pledged to set up a model park here. It's an amazing amount of money. In those days, it would have bought a bit of land, but the plan was to do it at the airfield. $40,000. Now, if I tried that again today, I'd probably get $400 because the money isn't there. Everyone's trying to pay the bills. No one's got as much disposable income anymore, and the hobby just doesn't have enough money in the hobby to produce companies that can afford to sponsor things like that. So, yeah, and it's only going to get worse because the hobby's getting smaller, because a lot of people are dropping out because they. The regulations are getting too tight. It's just too damn hard to find somewhere to fly, and it's too risky, and you've got to get remote ID and that crap. So people are just dropping out, selling their stuff, and other people are just not coming in because the same reason. We don't have the public exposure anymore, and so a lot of people don't even know what we're doing, and it's sad. We may become just a note in a history book if we don't do something. What do we do? I certainly like to hear from people who've got any ideas. And what does John say? The average freestyle FPV video is now basically B-roll content. Yeah, you're right. It is. It's because I remember I used to watch all Blackout the Drunks videos, and perching on a tent. I thought, whoa, that's amazing. And he flew through a sewer pipe under a bridge, or a pipe under a bridge. Wow, we were really blown away by that sort of stuff. Oh, he's flying in rate mode. My God, and I was still flying angle mode. But of course, all that's passé now. We're all doing it now. You watch a Steele video, Mr. Steele, and you expect what you see. There's nothing that blows you away because you've seen it all before. It's still entertaining. And that's why I think Bot Grinder does very well, because when you watch a Bot Grinder video, you're not there to watch the flying, you're there to watch Bot Grinder. And that's what it is, that it's turning into a personality-based thing. But even Bot Grinder, he's making videos about his bikes and things like that, and concerts. And, the heat has gone out of this hobby. And without any heat in it, it's even harder to bring new people in. So... I don't know. Maybe the drone companies will win. The drone delivery companies, maybe they'll win. Maybe the skies will be cleared, and we'll fly sims, and that'll be it. I don't know. I hope not. So Ghost Rider's late to the party. Yeah, where have you been, man? We've been waiting for you. Everyone's just been sitting here waiting for you to turn up. What are you doing? And Ken says that New Zealand regs are draconian. You need to get permission to fly over land that's privately owned, and from the administering authority, most public land don't have to do that. And yeah, in New Zealand, we have the default permission is no. The only place you can fly by default is over your own property. Anywhere else, you've got to get the express written permission. Now, there are some things like some councils say you can fly in this park, but like our national parks, forget it. It's like America. You're not going to fly there. It's so damn annoying, because the reason that you're not allowed to fly a drone in a national park is because you upset the peaceful enjoyment of other people. But when you go to these national parks, there's bloody helicopters flying over at 200 feet, taking tourists around, showing them everywhere, the noise and the dust. Seriously, that's okay. But a little, it's like a Mavic Mini. Oh, no, that would upset someone's enjoyment. Really, it's just, there's so much bullshit being spouted about drones that it's just unbelievable. And again, this is where I go back to these bodies like FPV Freedom Coalition, AMA, National Model Flying Bodies. Why aren't they pushing back? Every time I see a story which basically denigrates drones or whatever, says bad things about drones, I write to the editor of the publication and say, you've got it wrong. These are the facts. I write and try and correct them. I'm just one guy, nobody listens. But if an organization with a title like FPV Freedom Coalition or AMA writes to these organizations and issues as a formal press release and contradicting what's been said, correcting the record, then people might be more inclined to take notice, but they're not interested because that doesn't benefit their members. No. What are you doing? They pay them a lot of money. You get a little bit of insurance and a few privileges, and that's it. Yeah. You can't fight City Hall, especially when the public doesn't care about your hobby. It's unfortunate but true. Yeah, and that's the thing. As I said, that's why they've called model aircraft drones, because the public doesn't give a damn about drones. They hate drones. They don't realize that we're also talking model aircraft. I noticed on that video where I flew my drone in the park directly against the council's diktat, there were people left comments in that video saying, oh, you were just annoying all the people in that park. And there were no people in the park. I mean, but they said, oh, it's a drone. You were annoying all the people. But I flew at a time when there were no people there. And so how could I have annoyed the people? What, people are so anti-drone that they'll just, any drone, we've got to find some fault. And that's where we're at, because no one's been pushing back. No one's pushing back. And Mark, yes, the AMA is in cahoots with the FAA, just like the national model flying bodies and the regulator tend to form a bond, because the regulator knows that if they provide a little bit of privilege to the national model flying body, they won't push back. So it's a symbiotic relationship where they scratch each other's back to their mutual benefit. But people outside, if you're not in the FAA and you're not in the national model flying body, the rest of the hobby, you can just go suck eggs because they don't give a damn about you. And that's unfortunate. People are lame, Bruce. It's unfortunate. No, actually, if you see someone that's limping, they're probably on the male contraceptive. You put something in your shirt, it makes you limp. Apparently, that's how that works. We can get to 200 people. How many were now? 176 people. I don't know if there's any other streams on. I did try and pick a time when I didn't think there was anybody else. I know Bot Grinder's on in an hour and a quarter, so I wanted to get in well before him. Right. FAA tried to steal my underwear last night. Yeah. Well, that happens, eh? Happens all the time. Yeah. So we're a little bit powerless because we're a little bit disorganized and we're a little bit, and we've got this great massive wall of apathy. And the other problem is that the camera drone operators, when they talk about, drone operators, most of the people who own camera drones aren't in the hobby. They bought a camera and it flies. So when they go on holiday, they get some lovely shots. They're not out there every weekend flying the thing around and having fun and going out with friends. So what happens is we have, like in America, nearly 1 million registered drone operators. Maybe like 800,000 of those aren't hobbyists. They're just people that want to fly in camera. So when you get a group that represents, you might have 5,000 people, they say, well, that's 5,000 out of 1 million. That's nothing. But they may be 5,000 out of the remaining hobby, which is a much bigger percentage. So it's all been carefully orchestrated, choreographed by regulators to disadvantage the traditional hobby and use drones as a tool for getting more leverage and control with the public and, everywhere else. It's a shame. It is indeed a great shame. So as I say, what am I going to do now? Because the airfield's off limits, and I honestly think the council will just keep their shields up because I just haven't got the response. I'd hoped I'd get 1,000, 1% response, but I've got 1/10 of that. So I don't hold much hope that the council will respond in any sensible way. They'll just keep the shields up. So I don't know what I will do. It is difficult. I could model trains. They're really good, apparently. I wonder if I can find a model train simulator so I can practice before I buy a layout. No. I'm sorry, 2 dimensions just don't appeal to me. You need the 3 dimensions. I don't know what I do. I'm going to have to give, probably the next week, I may not put any content up because I've got no flying to film. And people are getting tired of this old man talking to a camera. That's pretty boring as bat poo, and it's a bit hard on your eyes. So I may just take the week to reflect and decide where I go. I mean, do I go back to building jet engines and making videos about those, which is what I did right back at the beginning? There's probably a really good market for my jet engines now, actually, considering we've got Ukraine and other areas where, such things are in demand. Yeah, but I'm not interested in that. But it's, do I go back to that? The guy from Model Flying New Zealand was saying that I owe everything to the model jet flyers at the airfield. They're the reason my channel's big. They're the reason I get all the views. So but I haven't been filming the jets anymore, mainly because I've had a guts full of them, because when we had the tower issue, and I emailed the jet flyers and said, could you please email the council and put in a word saying you'd like to retain the tower? Just one email. That's all it takes, like 5 minutes. The response was, nah. So I just can't be bothered with people like that, really, seriously. I have done so much for them over the years, mowed grass, made my workshop available, provided plugs and connectors and cables and things. And then when you call on them for a little bit of help, we can't be bothered. We're too busy doing our own thing. But as I say, that's human nature, I suppose. You expect to be disappointed because that happens. People are just like that. They're mainly interested in themselves. I don't know what's wrong with me. I care more about other people than myself. I am a bad person for that. It's just the way I was brought up. It's just the way I am. I don't apologize for it. Yeah. So what else have we got on here? Model trains are fun. They're fun. Yeah. I don't think. I'm not a model train guy. It ran around in circles. Might as well fly Controlline. Hey, they like fly Controlline. That's a thought. FPV Controlline. That'd be something that no one seems to have done before. And I don't think it's not covered by the UAV rules. Maybe I'll build an FPV Controlline model, and I can use the wires for the camera signal. How about that? Anyone interested in seeing that? I'm sure that the council would have a fit. They'd have a fit if I did that. That'd be a good thing to do then. And I'll make it jet powered. Why not make it jet powered just for the hell of it? Make a lot of noise and piss people off. Scare the horses. Scare Karen. She'd have a real field day if I ran a Controlline Jet at the airfield. Right. What else have we got? Can't we all just love and support each other as pilots? Yeah, we can, but it doesn't. We do, actually. This is a fantastic community. Everybody's looking out for everybody else. Problem is that we look after each other, but we don't have any way of dealing with the bigger problem, which is the drone companies, the regulation, the clear agenda to get us out of the skies. And let's see, what else have we got? Yeah, and Alistair says, do it. Yeah, I might do that as a project. That could be a bit of fun. Something to do now that the summer's here. Nearly here. It's raining today. It's terrible. You can mod me now. I'm ready. As if I'd make you a moderator, Super Deluxe. I don't know. I'd never do that. What have we got here? John Burns doesn't appreciate, Steel Rain doesn't appreciate his hypocrisy no matter what his agenda. Who are you talking about there? Who's the hypocrite? Is it me? I don't know. I haven't kept up with the chat. It's hard work keeping up with the chat. The mood is somber. I missed the first part. You ain't giving up flying, are you? No. Well, I don't know. I mean, sometimes, let's face it. There are days when I partly because of my Parkinson's and things aren't working properly and I'm not able to do much, I get really, I wouldn't say depressed, but I get really pissed off. But grizzling about it doesn't change anything. And sometimes I think just, bugger it, just toss it all in and watch Netflix for the rest of my life. But that doesn't last long, because I know there are people that appreciate what I do, and at least 100 of them. And I have a responsibility to those people to do the best I can to make sure that their interests are protected as best I can protect them. And this is future generations. This is my grandkids and their kids. I want them to be able to enjoy this hobby. My grandson's already been in one of my videos, and I would like him to be in future ones if I can. But I just get so pissed off that people go out of their way to ruin things for other people for no reason other than they can. Seriously. Our council is the greatest of all. You've all seen, we get lots of visitors outside of the lockdowns, lots of visitors every year because of, the videos at the airfield. Council don't consider that to be important, but they just spent $500,000 rebranding the town in order to attract visitors. But then I deliver millions of eyeballs a year on the town through my videos, and they consider it's not worthwhile. You notice, those of you who downloaded this In Touch thing here, this magazine, to get the addresses on the back, people pointed out, there's an article about the jet modelers in there. And yes, let me have a look if I can find it. Yeah, here we go. Turn it around. There's an article here about the jet modelers. See that? Jet modelers and introducing New Zealand's jet modelers. They're the darlings of the council. Thank you, Super Deluxe, mate. You're great. The council love the jet flyers. They love them because the jet flyers suck up every time they come down, and you go, you council, you're wonderful, blah blah. They would never dare cross the council. So they are teachers' pets basically, and so they get whatever they want. So the council doesn't have a problem with model flying. The council has a problem with me, and that's the big issue. And I read reports that are submitted to council. I have a report comes every couple of months about activity at the airfield. And they always mentioned, the jet modelers were there and they had a wonderful turnout, and the Aero Club was there, and one person flew an aeroplane and whatever. Our group is never, ever, ever mentioned. My videos on YouTube never, ever mentions. It's like we don't exist. It's like, and the councillors, they don't use YouTube. They don't go out to the airfield. Most of the councillors probably don't even know that we do anything until something like this pops up. They don't realise the amount of exposure it gets the district and the town, and the amount of financial benefit that represents. Because, even just the people that come every weekend, Neil comes in his Tesla and he buys a Subway, and we get other people coming, and sometimes they stay in motels and they have cafe breakfasts and things like that. But that counts for nothing because it's me. And I dared to film the council meeting, as is my lawful right. That cannot be tolerated. Almost 200 people. Yes, it is 200 on this screen here. So I don't know if it's, yeah. I'd love to visit Shake the Tower. Yeah, shame the tower's not there anymore. It is indeed a great shame. That really pissed me off because that tower, remember when I flew a model into that tower? I flew if you've been on the channel long enough, I flew a 40-pound nitro trainer into that tower, deliberately smashed it into it. Balsa versus steel. It was the model was always going to come off second best. We were never going to damage the tower. We didn't break any glass. There was no damage to the tower. Flew that model and it was fantastic, spectacular. We spent a lot of time setting that up safely. We did test runs. I did 2 videos one showing the preparation, one showing the outcome, and nobody was hurt. No property apart from the model was damaged. Yet the council went overboard. You've damaged our valuable property. The tower was a valuable public asset, they said at the time. They were outraged. And Model Flying New Zealand, you've damaged a valuable public asset. No damage, but don't let that disturb the narrative. And now they knocked that down because they said it was unsafe because nobody had maintained it. Well, if you own a valuable property, do you simply not maintain it so that it becomes worthless? No, you don't. So either they were lying when they called it a valuable public asset, or they were lying when they said it's unsafe and has to be knocked down. In fact, it was not unsafe. I have the engineer's report. The engineer's report said it needs one bolt, and some woodwork replaced. And the mayor told everybody it's in danger of falling over. In fact, they put cones and tape around it because someone could get killed if it falls over. Well, there's nobody ever out there standing by the tower. So it's just utter crap. The only reason she knocked that tower down was because of me. And I have somebody who I'm doing a video at the moment, somebody inside council at the time who will verify that was simply a vendetta on her part. It was simply malice on her part because I had caught her in a lie and put a video on YouTube. Never mind. Thank you, Eddie, mate. That's brilliant. Thank you so much. Right. What else? I really am terrible at keeping up with the chat. Don't stop doing what I'm doing. Well, the thing is, I can't stop doing what I'm doing to a degree because I am pretty goal driven. While I've got something to do, while I've got something to focus myself on, the problems that personally affect me with my health, I can ignore them. I've got a reason to get up in the morning. I've got a reason to focus, to concentrate on something, to use my efforts. That gives me something to do. And flying is like that. Every weekend I look forward to going out the field and getting some nice aerials with my drone, air-to-air shots and things, which are an important part of my videos. I mean, because people have said, well, if the other guys are flying, you could just film them. And yes, I could, but my videos have a sort of a formula, which include air-to-air footage, rescue quad, stuff like that, which have become a part of the whole format. And I don't want to have to change that because there are 1,000,001 videos of people flying model aircraft on YouTube. And they get 20, 30 views. I think the reason perhaps that mine get a few more views is because I've developed a formula that works. And it's a combination of many different aspects. There's the people, there's the planes, there's the footage, the aerial footage, all that sort of stuff. It all comes together in a package that is more attractive perhaps than just iPhone footage of a model flying in the distance. So I don't want to have to change that format. Because I don't think I can improve on it at this stage. Mayor for 2024, I can't actually run for mayor or council. I'm an Australian citizen living in New Zealand. Now, as an Australian citizen living in New Zealand, I can vote for council, for council elections. I can vote in the national election. We just had an election last month, and I voted in that. But I can't run for a position on council or the mayoralty because I'm not a New Zealand citizen, and I'm not prepared to get New Zealand's citizenship, because if everything turns to hell in a handbasket, I can go back to Australia and collect my pension back there. So, which I don't intend to do, but I don't want to, why bother? I'm happy as I am. Right. Oh yeah. Lambo drives Lambo. We should only be allowed to fly indoors. But did you see that in Canada? And this is how crazy things are. Mac in Canada is now certifying indoor flying areas. And you will only be allowed to fly at their certified indoor flying areas if you're a Mac member for the purpose of competitions and things. So Mac are going so far beyond the regulations. You've got to have your indoor arena certified, and you can only fly there if we've given you a certificate. Indoors? Seriously? What are you smoking in Canada? and that also brings up a point that I wanted to make. Thank you, Northern Tier. Wow, excellent. Is that the fact that the drone rules are so different from country to country shows that they're not based on risk. Not based on risk at all, because the risk is the same whether you're in Canada or the USA or the UK. The risk that a model represents is the same everywhere. The air is the same, manned aircraft are the same, the drones and model aircraft are the same. So why are the rules so different? For example, in New Zealand, I cannot fly this anywhere, this little Mobula 6, without the prior permission of the property owner over which I'm flying. And I've got to have wings, and I've got to have all that crap if I'm at the Forecarbon airfield. If I'm in Canada, I can fly a DJI Mini, any sub 250. I can fly it anywhere I like, apart from flight restriction zones. I can fly it without a spotter, FPV. I can fly BV loss, legally, because all I have to do is make sure I don't endanger people or property or aviation. So the rules are so relaxed there, yet we don't see reports of damage or death or injury as a result of those relaxed rules. Yet in New Zealand, they're so strict that everything down to 1 gram is regulated as if it was 15 kilograms. And it's like, there's no stratification in our rules. Our rules are nearly 10 years old, and they haven't been changed. And that's why it's so difficult to, the technology has moved on so much. When the rules were created, these things were not possible. 10 years ago, we didn't have these. But now we do have them, but we still have to treat this like it's a DJI Inspire because the rules say so. Seriously. It's hard to have respect for rules like that. And as I say, the problem is that when you have rules that are so ludicrous as to be laughable, people will not comply with them. Then you've lost all control. So, I don't know. Better catch up again. It's going fast. What have we got here? You'll be flying till I die. Yeah, same here. I'll probably kill myself flying. That's what'll happen. I'm so unsafe. 28 grams, says Bot Grinder. Yeah, mine measures 25 because my scale only does 5 gram increments. So that's fine. 1 ounce. It's an ounce. Who would have thought that you could have an FPV drone weighing an ounce? Bloody brilliant. My cats hate it. What else? I really should try keeping up more regularly with this. How's the Sheila going? Good. What did I say? We like your videos and the format. Yeah, thanks. It's been refined over the years, and there's been a changing cast. We have people come and go, so I have to work pretty hard to find people's funny side and the best side of them, and make them a star. Make them a star. I'm just the guy with the camera. They're the stars of the show. So. And who knows? I don't know what will happen. So I'll spend the next week reflecting and also give the council an opportunity to respond, which they won't. I'm pretty sure they won't. The only other thing is to take it to the media, because it's now been such a period of time. It's been a month, and the council's response has been just to double down and raise the shields. The media would probably be quite interested in that. What the hell are they doing? So maybe we get some traction there. I don't know. It's possibly another way to escalate it, but I'll think about it for a while, and then, because all along every email I've sent to the councillors, I've said, let's just get together in a room for 30 minutes of your valuable time and we'll sort it out. They're not interested. They don't want to resolve it because they would lose face. If they had to back down, they'd lose face. Oh my goodness, he's beaten us again. Oh, we can't have that. We'll just keep doing whatever we have to do to make sure we come out on top and we're the winners. It's not a game of winning and losing. It's a game of just being practical and sensible and making sure that people are able to do what they want to do and that everybody's safe. And for them to assert safety, this really grinds my gears too. I am so unsafe that I have to be supervised. I mean, seriously, in fact, it's quite interesting. Last weekend, when I wasn't allowed to fly, I stepped back from my role as not as safety officer, but I generally keep an eye on things and make sure that things are operating smoothly. I have no authority in more than anybody else, but I'm always wandering around with the radio, and I've always got my ear on the ADSB alarm. And if the ADSB alarm goes off, I rush out and tell someone if they're on the flight line, there's a plane coming, that sort of thing. I stepped back from that last weekend, and there was an incident. The local aero club, God, some people are, what normally happens is when an airplane starts up, if there's a full-size aircraft on the field, as soon as they start up the engine, we land the models until they've taxied out and taken off. Last weekend, they had some training flights. So they offered flights, you pay $100 and go up for half an hour in a microlight. So there were 4 or 5 people came along, and what they were doing was they were starting up the microlight, sitting there for 3 or 4 minutes, explaining all the buttons and dials to the passenger, and then they'd take them up for a flight. So we realized that we didn't have to come down straight away because they were going to spend 3 or 4 minutes running up the engine and doing all this stuff. So we would fly for a couple more minutes and land. When I say we, everyone but me. And then the last flight of the day, thank you, Tim. Wow, excellent. Last flight of the day, they started up the plane. 2 people were flying, and they turned around to come in and land, but the microlight started up and taxied straight out to the threshold of the runway. Didn't even, was 20 seconds from the time the motor started till it was on the edge of the runway. And so I think Bill was flying his C-1500 and someone else was flying something else. You can't just drop a model out of the air in 15 seconds. It's especially a large model, a four-engine electric model. So what happened was the pilot got to the end of the taxiway to turn off the runway, and he saw models in the air. So I'm complaining. I'm going to complain. So they finally complained that the models didn't get out of the air fast enough. I mean, it was just an excuse to make a complaint. But, as I say, it's just probably coincidence that I'd step back at that stage. But I'm the one that has to be supervised. I'm the guy that's so unsafe. My attitude's wrong. I don't have enough skills. I mean, I've flown 3D, gliders, RC pulse jet powered models. No one else in the country, I think, has flown RC powered, pulse jet powered RC. All sorts. I've flown virtually all the disciplines. And I have had to rescue Ron's models on a number of occasions because his eyesight's not that good. And, sometimes he gets a bit disoriented. I've had to rescue his models, but Ron has to supervise me. Yeah. Ron has got the wing, so he supervises me, even though I generally have to rescue his models. Apparently that's how it works. And I don't know. It's not about safety. It's all about compliance. And that creates an unsafe environment. But nobody listens. They don't care. Well, as you say, Torpedo Lord, $25, fantastic, mate. That's brilliant. Thank you, Tim. Spike was there. They did land in 21 seconds. They got down. I mean, the plane had only just reached the drain, and they'd landed. But the plane wasn't that. They could still see planes in the air as they reached the drain, which wasn't the runway. The planes came down, but it wasn't quick enough for them. They were looking for an excuse to lay a complaint because, unfortunately, the Aero Club, they think that the airfield should be just for them. You've seen on the videos how little manned aviation there is there, but the people, at least one in the Aero Club, they think that there shouldn't. I think they think there shouldn't be models there. There should just be manned aircraft. It's not a place. They should be sitting growing grass 99.9% of the time, and that other 0.1% should be just manned aviation. Unfortunate, but people are people. As I say, human nature. You just have to learn to live with it. So freers are where the real RC pilots fly. You can't expect to fly 250. Yeah, I mean, that's right. I mean, you don't. You fly safely and responsibly. And what better place? I mean, this is the problem now. If I can only fly in the parks, which apparently I can't either, I can legally fly a 100-mile-an-hour model. My rear bear up there, I could fly that in the park under the policy. I wouldn't do it because no way is it safe. But I could be compliant. I could be totally compliant, and people's lives would be at risk. That's how I say compliance doesn't guarantee safety. And I'm the guy that thinks beyond the rules, but I'm the guy that needs to be supervised. I don't know. It's just, never mind, as I say. Hello from Nord, Minnesota. Yeah, hello. Oh, is that the VPN city of the world? I don't know. The Aero Club will be getting in trouble for that. Yeah, well, I hope so. It was a vexatious complaint. Vexatious. It's time we take back the hobby. It is, but unfortunately, we're standing here with our Nerf guns, and the drone companies have got all their, cannons, and we don't have the artillery to push back. And because the thing that annoys me too is that people say, well, just fly underground, just fly, but don't put videos up. But that defeats the whole purpose. My job is to promote the hobby. And if we're all flying underground, nobody knows we're there. And therefore, where do the new members, how do we get new members? How do we get new people interested in the hobby if they never see it? We've got to make it public. We've got to put it up there. We've got to promote it through our activities. And as I said with the spotter thing with FPV, if we didn't have all those many thousands of videos of people flying FPV without a spotter completely safely, we wouldn't have a very strong argument to say to the regulators, we don't always need a spotter. We've proven it. Look, thousands of videos on YouTube. Show me the bodies. We couldn't say that if everyone was flying, without putting videos up. So it's essential we keep a profile, maintain the profile, and keep promoting ourselves through social media. Right. Respect for saying assault weapon. No. We're like guns at the moment, to be honest. Guns were first registered and then they were seized. We're losing our freedoms. It's unfortunate. There's a lot of politics around guns, but they're just something else. Because it annoys me too, all these drones, look what's happening in again, because they've called our model aircraft drones. Oh, they're bad because look what's happening in the Ukraine. It's only a matter of time before someone puts a bomb on a drone and people die. Yeah, no. As I've said so many times, you don't have a drone problem. You've got a bomb problem. Just regulate bombs better. And I got so, like we've just had Guy Fawkes in New Zealand. It's a celebration of when the British tried to blow up the Houses of Parliament. So you can buy fireworks, explosives and Roman candles and things. I could go down the shops and buy a $160 bucket of high explosives and let them off in my backyard. That was safe, but this isn't. That was allowed by law, but this is not. Seriously, what the hell's going on when you do that? But when you can see there's agendas, because you would expect that if what these regulators and the governments were telling us was true, then they would listen to the facts and the logic and the reason and adjust things. But they don't. They just completely discount it because the narrative runs deeper and there's a lot of money pushing to get us out of the sky. So nothing we can produce will counter that money, unfortunately. Off axis, yeah. I mean, why do you think I keep my hair short? My hair's short so I don't have that problem, when I had hair anyway. We're currently living in the Not On My Watch province. RCMP have refused to follow federal law. Ottawa can get bent. Yeah, mind you, the RCMP are pretty good at bringing down aircraft with their drones, or at least making dents in them. And again, the only real incidents where pilots have been endangered are from licensed, trained drone operators, the RCMP. What does that tell you? Yeah, gun confiscation. Yeah, drone confiscation will come. Did you get busted for your recent flights? No, because as I said, bullies. And remember, one thing you can rely on with council is that they really don't want to have to put down their coffee and their donuts. Oh yeah, someone's doing something wrong. We can't be bothered. Look, it's almost 2:00. It's only 3 hours till we go home. We can't be bothered starting to do anything. We've still got 4 cups of coffee and a packet of donuts left. We've got more important issues. So you can rely on them not doing anything. If it involves an effort, they won't bother. So that's, and also I think that even they perhaps saw the complete sheer folly. In fact, I've heard through the back door that a new drone policy has been drafted. A new drone policy has been drafted and it will be submitted at the meeting, which is this coming Wednesday. So it'll be changed. I don't know if it'll be better. I don't know if they're just going to say no drone flying at all. It wouldn't surprise me. Knock that tower down. Cost the entire community thousands of dollars just to get at me. Maybe they'll ban all drone flying in the parks because of me. I don't know. I would not be surprised at all. What's the reason they say you need supervision as opposed to others who don't? Because I haven't paid $100 to the National Model Flying Body. So there's a thing called WINGS. It's a certification. And I've said it multiple times, passed every time. I've got 60 plus years of experience. I know the rules better than CAA. I've had to school them themselves on the rules. My attitude is impeccable when it comes to safety. I step down for one day and there's a complaint. Yet, because I haven't paid $100, I have allegedly forgotten how to fly, so I'm dangerous with the controller in my hand. I've forgotten all the rules, so I don't know which way's up. And my attitude to safety is now unacceptable because I haven't paid $100. That's how it works. Money buys you privilege. Yeah, and it's not because I don't want to join Model Flying New Zealand. I would be rejoining Model Flying New Zealand in the flash, except I can't because then I don't, they tell me this is too dangerous. CAA says it's okay, but Model Flying New Zealand, who apparently are a group of modelers who should know better, say this is way too dangerous for me to fly in my backyard FPV. Hard to have respect. Yeah, many emails sent to the, someone did get a reply, and what they're doing is they're sending some people that used the form a copy of the email they sent to me, a letter they sent to me, which is a lie. They're saying, you're not banned, you just have to comply with these conditions that you can't comply with. But if you comply with these conditions you can't comply with, then you can fly again. It's like saying, yeah, it's unreasonable. Absolutely unreasonable. That's like bureaucrats are like that. They never ban you. They just make it impossible for you to comply with the conditions you need to do something. And so you're not banned. Yeah. Right. Random FPV. My displays. Oh yeah, I'm sorry about that. The displays. I should get sponsors. Oh, where's my Manscaper? Oh, what would I use that for? And NordVPN, my Ridge wallet. Surely I need a Ridge wallet. Oh, so many things I could do, make money. But again, as people see, I mean, money is not what I'm doing any of this for. I got a bit annoyed when people say, oh, you're only doing this drama for money, for clicks, views on YouTube, because YouTube pays nothing. YouTube is crap. And you notice YouTube is a train wreck. People have said, hey, my comments disappeared. And I put a comment on, I actually contacted Twitter through Team YouTube. YouTube through Twitter. Because someone put a comment on the video, I put a reply to it. And I got a screenshot of the reply. I pressed, reply, and there it was on the page. I refreshed the page, it was gone. And it was a completely benign reply. There was no rude words, nothing, that could possibly contradict the guidelines. I checked in the held, there's a little area you can go where they hold some comments. Wasn't there, it just disappeared, vanished. And other people have had the same problem. Put a comment up and it disappears. YouTube is just a wreck, and so much of the, free speech is utterly gone. You've got to toe the line with YouTube or you're out of the pool, and it's going to get worse. And the annoying thing for me with this whole thing is that November, December are the biggest months on YouTube. I make, well, when I say as much, it makes it sound like I'm making a lot of money, but the few $100s I make in November and December is more than I make for the rest of the year. So not being able to get out there and get a whole lot of really good flight videos and try and get as much up as I can, it's costing me money. And I think the council should reimburse me for that, because I think it's an unreasonable constraint of trade, because I can't conduct my business, which is making videos for you guys of people flying model aircraft. So yeah, but they just don't respond. They're not interested. One thing I was looking at, well, I think of it, I'm looking at PeerTube. Now, if you haven't seen PeerTube, it's just like YouTube, but you run it on your own computer and you can peer-to-peer with other servers. I'm actually going to start self-hosting some of my content because I've just had a gut silly YouTube. You just can't trust them. I get claims on I license all my music from audio.com. So I can give you something that's a little bit different and hopefully more suitable to the videos. So I pay money every year to audio.com to license these tracks. And I put them up there. And YouTube, I get a content claim. And so when someone falsely claims this track as theirs with a different title, completely different piece of music, it's just the content IDs that misidentified it, I have to file an appeal. And then if the person making the claim accepts the appeal, it's all fine. But what usually happens is the person who makes the claim just ignores it. And after 30 days, the claim is released. But during that 30-day period, YouTube basically hides my video in a drawer. So I don't make any money out of it because they don't promote it because, it's under a copyright claim. So you don't get any exposure. And so it's costing me a fortune because YouTube's content ID system is so broken, their appeal system is so broken that if anybody wants to cripple a video, they just claim the content, claim the music. And even though it's totally bogus claims, I can present a license. YouTube, when you give them a license, when you make an appeal and you give them a license, it just goes back to the claimant. YouTube doesn't take any part in that. So the claimant just says, oh, okay, forget it. And they just leave it for 30 days. So your video does nothing for 30 days. And it's dead. It's so badly organized. What have we got? Did your health come into it? Yeah, my health. See, that's the thing too. I am very careful about when I fly and when I don't fly. As I said, some weekends I don't fly, not because I couldn't fly, but because I don't know that it would be, certainly some kinds of models. I would never fly like an EDF or a larger model if I was in any way compromised, because that would be unsafe. I could probably, technically I could do it, but it's also, you don't get much fun if your fingers are shaky. It's just, you can't do the greasy landings and things. So I have to choose my times, and which is again why I want to be able to fly around my house. So I'm very, very responsible when it comes to determining whether I'm safe to fly or not. I consider it to be a very important thing. I'm not going to risk anybody's life, not mine, not anybody else's, if I don't feel I'm up to the job. And I also find it annoying because we've had people come to the airfield, Model Flying New Zealand members, who've got wings. They can't fly for shit, to be honest. Some of them are so bad, but they've got wings, so they're okay. Don't have to supervise them, putting planes in the fences and the drains, and that's fine because they've got the piece of paper. They paid their $100. They're good. It's just so frustrating. Anyway, Super Deluxe, come and stay at my place in California. I don't think they'd let me in, mate. I'm not a fit and proper person. What's it say? 100,000 views makes like tree fitty. It doesn't make much money. No, I mean, my average videos get bugger all, because the problem is, again, if I was making videos about finance or cars or something, I'd make a fortune. The CPM, the amount you get paid per 1,000 views on those valuable types of material, where you've got companies willing to spend a lot of money to get ads on them, you can make a lot of money. But my CPM on my videos is about $1. During the year, it's about $1. Around this time of the year, it goes up maybe to $2.50 per CPM. So if I get a video with 10,000 views, geez, I've made $25 out of that. Now, I might have spent all Sunday filming that. I might have spent 2 or 3 days editing it. So the total investment in time is probably something like 30 hours. And I get $25. So my plan not to get rich is working very well, but I don't do it for the money. I do it because I enjoy it, and I have this commitment to promote the hobby through my videos, and so that's why I do it. If it was the money, I would have chosen something completely different. And I'm just fortunate that I've got Patreon support. Without Patreon, I couldn't afford to make any videos, because YouTube is my YouTube revenue is a third of my Patreon revenue. My Patreon revenue isn't as big as many people, but it is so important to me, and I do really, really appreciate it. I'd be buggered without it. But I try not to push these things. I mean, some people, I've joined my Patreon and visit the sponsor and look at all the mid-roll ads. No, you come to watch a video. You watch a couple of ads at the beginning, and then I'm not going to interrupt the rest of your viewing. I mean, this stream, I've monetized the stream because the message is more important than the money. I would get probably, $2 or $3 if I monetized the stream. But is that worth it? No, I don't think it is. I think the attention that you people give to this message is more important than the $2 or $3 I might earn by putting ads in it. So, yeah. But I mean, a lot of creators are taking the other pitch. And even YouTube themselves admit that putting mid-rolls in will boost your revenue per video by 15%. Who wants to annoy the snot out of people for an extra 15% per video? It's not worth it. It's not from my point of view anyway. Okay, what's the time? Geez, it's getting late now. Ooh, I have to, because I've been up since 1 o'clock this morning because I don't sleep. And it's now 2 o'clock in the afternoon here. So 13 hours I've been going. That's not bad. Yeah, so if there's any more questions, bung them in now. Otherwise, we'll wrap it up and I'll go and have something to eat and go and watch Bot Grinder. He's got a stream today. I didn't see it in my feed. I don't know. Hopefully. Find out. And does Super Deluxe, are you having a stream today? Usually have one after Bot Grinder, don't you? Chime in. Promote yourself. It's very early in the morning in the UK. You don't sleep. How do you keep waking up? I go to sleep and I wake up an hour later, and I can lay in bed for another 7 hours and I won't get any more sleep. It varies a lot. I had a period where I was getting 2 hours sleep a night. I'm better now. I'm back up to 4 hours, which is, I can survive on 4 hours. But sometimes I just have it very difficult. It's one of the problems. It's the biggest problem I have with Parkinson's is the sleep. Sleep disruption is terrible. I've tried all the melatonin and all the other stuff. It just makes no difference. So something you just have to live with and deal with. That's life. No good grizzling about it. It's not going to change it. Do I travel? No, not really. It's very difficult to travel. Thank you, Michael. Keep up the good work. Appreciate that. And who can sleep when the hobby is in such dire times? I'll sleep when it's all sorted. Don't worry. Yeah, you're a long time dead, so make the most of it while you're alive. I thank you, a little fellow. Yeah, I haven't seen anything from Bot either. Maybe he's taken a bit more of a break. And again, people are getting burnt out. I know. I suspect Bot's getting a bit burnt out. You do the same thing all the time. I'm lucky that my passions outweigh my fatigue still, so I'm nowhere near burnout. I see a lot of YouTubers get burnt out and pack it all up, but I enjoy what I do. I actively look forward to getting up in the morning and doing what I do, and not many people can say that. So I'm very blessed that I'm not sitting in a factory, putting screws and holes and things, and I'm doing something that is a passion for me. And again, that's why the money isn't that important. All I need to do is pay the bills, and I'm happy. And Northern Tier FPV, get some sleep. I wish I could, mate, but it's probably not going to happen for a while yet. So there we go. Yeah, I appreciate, as I say, everyone that's emailed the council. I appreciate everything you've done. That is fantastic. I fear it's probably not going to be enough, but that was a risk I knew when I took that option. I knew there was always a risk, because I've seen so often before that we're getting that 1% response. 99.9% of the people will leave it to someone else, but they'll also be probably complaining when the whole thing falls apart and there's no access to the hobby anymore. They'll be, why didn't somebody do something? But never mind, that's all good. Right, okay. I shall end the stream. There's a big red button here inviting me to do that, and I thank you again. And I may do some more streams if there's any more stuff comes. I want to get away from the whingy moany grizzly videos. If I decide to go and get the media involved, I'll do another video inviting people to contact the media, but we'll see what happens first. Give the council time to respond, because the longer it goes with them not responding, the worse it would look for the media anyway. And yes, thanks for putting up with me ranting and raving, and I will now go and do something hopefully useful. Thanks, guys. See you later. And it says end.